The Blokebusters podcast is a proud member of the Pod Bros Network. You can find us, as well as other great shows such as The Ectoplasm Show, AB Film Review, and Media Litter Sandwich over at podbros.com. And now get ready to share and enjoy the Blokebusters podcast.
Tonight's story is somewhat unique and calls for a different kind of introduction.
Who's gone off? Today we are canceling the apocalypse! Excellent!
Houston, we have a problem.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Get away from her, you bitch!
And like that, he's gone.
Welcome to another episode of Franch-Fried. I'm Brian.
And I'm Paul.
And if you're listening to this, and this is your first experience with Franch-Fried, yes, this is Blokebusters, but this is our little experiment into talking about the most recent film in a series that we feel has most definitely run its course. Now, a couple quick guidelines there. We also had agreed when we started doing these that we have not. It's not necessarily required that we have seen all of these in the series, and once the movie is decided, whatever we're covering, no more boning up on homework or rewatching any of the other sequels, stuff like that. So, say that for this one in particular, because that will be explained as we go along. So, yes, Cult of Chucky is what's on the menu today. Yes. And before we get into that, where can people find us online?
Well, finding us online, aside from wherever it is you found us because you're listening to us right now.
Yes.
And yes, hi, thanks for doing that. You can find us on Twitter at Blokebusters, Facebook.com/Blokebusters. We are Instagram at Blokebusters. You can email us, blokebusterpodcast@gmail.com. Yes, that's right. There's no S at the end of Blokebusters there. And also we have our own website, blokebusters.webs.com, because, you know, we can't be bothered to spend the money just to get the .com at the moment. Like, maybe we'll find it down the line, but that's about it.
It's nice to have dreams. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Alright. So, very quickly going into nuts and bolts for the film as well here. It is directed by Don Mancini. I'm assuming I'm pronouncing that correctly. Can't find a budget to speak of, and it was released pretty much straight onto DVD, so no box office either. So there we go. That's kind of
okay. That might be one of the first times,
that we chose correctly.
Yeah.
So very quickly going into some of the people in this: Fiona Dourif, as Nika Pierce. Michael Thuriot, I'm going to go with that, as Dr. Foley. You've got Alex Vincent coming back as Andy Barclay from the first one. Adam Hertig as Multiple Malcolm. I'll talk a little bit more about him later. And the other two, I would say, big names, Jennifer Tilly as Tiffany Valentine and Brad Dourif as Chucky. So,
okay. Yeah, so, did you say Allison Dawn Doran as Rachel?
I did not. I just was going off of the top ones here. But,
okay. Nope. Not a big part there. But she was just I was thinking of someone else. Disregard.
Okay.
So obviously Brad Dourif. Well, I don't know if it's that obvious, but Brad Dourif is the father of Fiona Dourif.
Yes. So
that was a little weird dynamic there, considering he spends the film trying to, we think, at least kill or torture her.
Yes, in some way.
And for those of you that may not be looking at IMDb or anything like that, Brad Dourif, if you're unfamiliar, most of you would probably know him as Grima Wormtongue. So,
and for myself, Fiona, I recognized as a character in Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, which you can get on Hulu over here. It's the latest iteration of that, the one with Elijah Wood in it, and she played a character called Bart, and she actually does very well in that. So the reason I just said that.
And I wanted to mention another project of hers, because she is a talented actress, at least in this, and that was the series When We Rise, or the limited series about the LGBT rights struggle.
Yes.
And she was fantastic in that. Everyone was great in that, but yeah, her as well. So yes, we were just stalling talking about nicer things before we have to get into this. And I will say, I was going to say this before we started recording, but Paul, I am done covering horror movies for a while. Nothing to do with, I get so scared, but more than, I'm tired of, wasting hours and hours.
Yes.
But alas, we will get some meaty material out of this one, I think.
I think so.
So I guess we usually like to start these Franch-Fried with kind of going over our history, our personal history with the franchise. So,
yes.
Paul, how familiar or unfamiliar are you with the Child's Play series? How many of the films have you seen? Recently, or do you love them? What's the deal?
Well, if I'm recalling correctly, and it had been brought up that I do have a bit of a spotty memory for some of the films I've seen growing up, but I believe I have seen the first one and the second one and Bride of Chucky before this one.
Okay.
So I was familiar with Chucky in general, and at least the beginning rules of that franchise, and then also the character of Jennifer.
Okay.
Jennifer.
So maybe, you might be able to help explain a couple things for me, but we'll see.
Yes. So
a lot of this is going to be spent with me being confused, but just a normal episode for me.
I assume then that you are less knowledgeable.
I am less experienced. I have seen bits and pieces, and I couldn't even tell you of which ones. Maybe, probably the first and second on, I don't know if you're familiar with, I'm sure you are with now the network USA.
Yes.
But USA, I don't know if they still do. I haven't had cable in years. Sorry, guys. But they used to do this thing, like I said, maybe they still do around Halloween time, USA Up All Night. And they'd show scary movies, or most of them pretty campy or bad. You get some good ones in there, but I'm sure it was during one of those just binges where I would watch a few scenes of this and then change to something else. So I don't think I've ever completed a Child's Play film is where I'm going with that. Nothing about a murderous, creepy My Buddy doll really appealed to me. It just, I'm like, nah, not for me. And if I'm judging off of this film, I would say my instincts were correct.
Yes.
Who knows? Child's Play aficionados out there, correct me if I have to go back and watch the better pictures of this franchise.
Right.
Which I won't do, so just put that out there.
Yeah, and the only thing I will say before we get going is I would recommend at least watching the first one at some point. Don't necessarily go out of your way, especially if you're kind of done with horror films for a little bit in this regard. But I'm
done with shitty horror films. Let me put it that way.
Okay, yeah. The first film, at least to my recollection, it's kind of one of those films that it sort of knew what it was, because obviously a guy's soul is stuck inside a kid's doll and goes on a killing spree.
As it happens, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
that old thing.
Yes, it's along the same lines of like Nightmare on Elm Street, where they were well aware of what they were and having fun within that, but it was also still a horror film. So they did very well that way. So there you go. The first one, at least, it's worth a watch. So
okay, well, maybe some night if I can't get to sleep, and I'll just throw that on. Is that on that? Let me guess. The way Netflix runs, that one won't be.
Yeah, I'm going to assume that the first few are not on there. I didn't to be honest, I didn't spend too much time looking up the other ones.
Oh, well, you got Chris Sarandon in the first one. Okay. Yep. Alrighty. 1988. Good lord. Yeah, this thing's gone on for almost 30 years. Yeah.
Yeah, nearly.
This is this the longest? No. Indiana Jones. I was about to say the longest franchise we've covered, but I think Indiana Jones has it.
Yes. No.
Yeah. With 81, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
From right there. Yeah.
I mean, this is one of the longest in terms of number of films done, like outside of the Jason series that we covered. But it's.
All right.
It's been for a while. So, where should we start?
I think we have done everything we possibly can to delay talking about this actual movie.
Yes, I think so.
So, have you seen the Star Wars trailer?
I have not.
Maybe
Actually,
we'll talk about that at the end. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, general thoughts, overview of this. Did you enjoy your viewing experience, Paul?
I will caveat this by saying that I did watch this very late at night and stayed up later than I was planning on to watch it. So I had that looming over me as well. It was kind of okay, let's get this over with. Come on. I think I came away from this one thinking that it is not terrible, like not absolutely dreadful to watch, but because I have seen a couple of the other ones and because I generally enjoy well done horror films, I didn't think it was that great. It's just kind of...
it's a hot take, but yeah.
Yes.
This just in, not great. Cult of Chucky.
Yes.
Okay.
No, I think we'll go into it a little bit. One of the issues I definitely had was the quality of the special effects, because in this day and age it really did seem like they must have spent all the money on getting Jennifer Tilly and the people that were in it to come back, and then we're like, well, we got about 1,000 to spend on the graphics. Like, what can we do with that? But yeah, and the acting was okay. There's a couple of people I thought were better than others, but yeah, overall I was not that overjoyed at having to watch this one. What about you then? What's your overall take on this?
Well, as exciting as it is for us to agree, I am inclined to agree with you and say this was not one of the greater films I've ever seen. It as far if we're like stacking it up with Franch-Fried episodes or movies that we've done, it's kind of in the middle there. It's not the lowest of the low.
No.
It's certainly not good. It's kind of just which I hate to just use that catch-all adjective of meh or whatever, but it is pretty aggressively meh. Yeah, we'll get into it a bit, but those first two acts are just wash over you, and it was tough for me to pay attention because it is so bloody boring. At least I found it to be. And especially not having seen other films in this franchise. So there wasn't a whole lot for me to gain out of watching this.
No, I have to say that this film did something that is obviously people that have been watching every single film in the franchise will enjoy, but anyone attempting to come at this fresh will hate, in that it doesn't explain in the slightest what happened to create this killer that's coming after everyone. They sort of mention it a little bit.
But almost like into the beginning of the third act they do. Like, by then everyone that would be new to it is so confused. But yeah, there's no... Yeah, I just spent most of this movie lost.
Understandable.
Which... and I will take part of that ownership. Like I said, not having seen the others,
Right.
but part that the movie shares with. I mean, anytime if you're going to franchise and if you're going to keep making these things, as clunky as the exposition is, or I mean, there are good ways to do it, but there are ways to let people know of the mythology and kind of get people on board. So you just don't have random characters popping up. Who's that? Who's that? Who's that? Nope,
Yeah.
nothing's ever explained. And like the whole Jennifer Tilly joke, like I'm sure that's a reference, or I'm sure did she play herself in one of these movies, or did she show up as herself?
Well,
Or were they just doing the Ocean's 12 Julia Roberts awful joke? I don't know. So,
I have a bit of a theory behind that one based solely on what happens in this film. I think it is mentioned in Bride of Chucky that she does look kind of like Jennifer Tilly, obviously being played by Jennifer Tilly.
mhm.
But in this one, it seemed to me that because she was still a doll in it, that maybe she also had taken over the actual Jennifer Tilly. Especially since
I
there's
don't
one
know.
bit when she's talking on the phone, she's like, "Am I Jennifer? Am I Tiffany? I don't know." It's like, I think they might have gone down that route and just not actually explained it in the slightest.
All right, Child's Play and Chucky experts, let us know. We're itching to find out, so our lives can make sense again.
So, okay,
Yeah.
obviously you might have caught bits and pieces, but I will explain now for you in case you haven't looked it up or anything. Yes, the Chucky, he was killed by the police in a shootout, and he used
in a toy store.
in a toy store. So he used a voodoo ritual to bind his soul to the Chucky doll. And what happened was, if you do that and then don't transfer your soul into a living being within 3 days, you are stuck in that form. And so, like, that kind of happens to him a couple of times throughout the franchise, and he's always trying to find out how to get himself back into human form, and then this film occurs.
Okay.
Let's say it
Great.
used to
Yeah,
make
so
sense.
at least that was And these are called what? Good guy dolls? Did I get that right? Was that the?
Oh crap! What was it? It's I think it's something like that. It's either Good Guy Doll or
Yeah, but I mean, it's essentially if people remember the My Buddy dolls, the really creepy, My Buddy. Watch it on YouTube; it's great. And then the follow-up hit, Kid Sister. Listen to those jingles; they'll be in your head for years.
yeah. I mean,
But yeah, that's essentially what it was: the overalls and the shirt. Because I think those came around the same time. So.
Yeah,
But this one's slightly more murderous.
yes.
At least I survived. Yeah.
Yeah, more along the lines of, and I believe the director, who's also a writer for the series, he has gone on record as saying that he had watched like the Trilogy of Terror and the Twilight Zone episode with the talking doll. That spoilers for that episode is the Talkie Tina episode, and yeah, it's a doll that is absolutely like, hi, I'm Talkie Tina and I love you, around the daughter and the mother. But when the father's there by himself, she is basically like, hi, I'm Talkie Tina and I don't like you. And it goes on and on like that. So, it's a thing that is well established as like, oh, these seem to kind of creepy and could go a bad way. And then obviously this series was done because it could be a feature film, and was done well. And yes, where exactly do we go from here?
There are some big bullet points I want to get to.
Okay,
but I don't know.
I had a question that.
Yes, please go ahead.
I kind of was thinking about this for like Halloween that we did, and possibly in future it might come up again. But when it comes to a franchise sort of trying to evolve into new things, like, do you feel that it is a good idea for franchises to do that, or do you think that to properly feel like a good version of whatever the franchise is, or to really keep the audience entertained, that it should really actually be, what we've been talking about, like more of the same, but with people writing good scripts and coming up with good new material? Because
I mean, you're kind of in a roundabout way underlying the problem with franchises.
Yeah.
Because it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation.
Yeah.
Kind of same thing with bands that have been around for a long time. People say all the songs sound the same, so screw them. Oh, they lost their identity. They don't sound anything like they used to. Screw them.
Yeah.
So it's you kind of get a bit of that. I think that's why I think it's so tough to have quality sequels. It's because you really have to ride that line of keeping the mythology and the canon while still bringing something new to the table.
Yeah.
And very few are able to do that well. I mean, that's why I've always been a first film guy. For me, I think it's really hard to rate a sequel over the original of something because you have all of the character development in that first movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to go down. There's a few exceptions out there, but the one that immediately springs to mind for me is Godfather Part 2.
I would have gone Dark Knight myself, but that's...
see? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, more and more I watch Batman Begins, I think that might be even better. But discussion for another for a film for thought or something. So I think that's I'm just not a huge sequel guy. Unless they're on just a very basic, enjoyable level, but I usually don't expect too much out of them. So luckily that came in handy here.
I think my problem is you come across franchises that, okay, they have something that worked quite well for them, and they might actually not be terrible, might be doing quite well, and actually coming up with new ideas and solid scripts and stuff. And I don't mind that as long as the idea is fresh, as long as they've got a good take on it, people that are able to act and know what they're doing. I'm on the fence about okay, as long as it's good, I'll accept it. But a lot of the times you do see, in cases such as this, they sort of just decide to go, right, we're doing something new with the franchise. So it's like, oh no, you really shouldn't have. We were fine the way it was before, thank you. But yeah, this film, I felt like the director was trying to be David Lynch every now and again.
Oh my gosh, we can get to it now because why not? This film's all over the place. Where they start doing, out of nowhere, we start getting swipes, edit swipes, and thank God it wasn't a star swipe, but it might as well have been. Was the Simpsons episode star swipe?
Oh, yes.
And then we get side by side. We get some kind of Hitchcock editing, with the crazy angles and stuff, with the dual screen. And I'm sorry, Hitchcock, to throw your name into this mess. All around, that was around the whole Chucky funeral scene, I think, where the editing just went batshit crazy. So I didn't quite get those choices because otherwise it was a pretty steady cam shooting, but that was all over the map. I didn't know what to make of that, as I didn't know what to do with the rest of the movie. But.
One of my biggest problems with this film was they seemed to be attempting to go down a route of most of it was inside Nika's head. Her perceptions were so off based on her experiences that she was reading into things that weren't there, which would have been a fantastic way to go about it, I think. It would have been a really cool way of going, oh, is this how they're going? And actually keeping the watcher on the edge of their seat and questioning what's going on. and then they just decided to get rid of the mystique entirely about halfway through, but still keep the bits that were supposed to make you think, "Oh, is this real or not?" It's like, well, no, like it's
like
real.
that. It's like part of the script went through rewrites, but they couldn't be bothered to just make the rest of it add up. So all that was left in, which is always a sign of a good movie.
Yes.
But that would have so they abandoned that much more interesting choice, even though it's a well-tread choice. Of that, is it all in their head? I mean, we just did American Psycho. Check out that episode, everybody. Where that was a fun debate to have. How much of this was in his head? Yeah, and how much wasn't. Yeah. But here, like you said, they just completely throw that idea out the fucking window. And then instead, we still have. We don't have one murder straw. We have 3. I believe 3 was the total count. Yeah.
If you don't count the Tiffany doll who don't kill anyone, but she's a killer as well. So
of the Chucky dolls, I should say. Let me just ask a random question out here, and we'll move on from this. But, is Juicy Fruit a lot better tasting than I recall?
I mean, I remember
because I seem to remember
fruit.
Pretty bland, but in this universe, it seems to be quite a powerful aphrodisiac. If you have not seen the movie, you have no idea what I'm talking about, and now you know how it felt for me to watch this film. But Nika offers multiple Malcolm or whatever, a piece of Juicy Fruit, and then wham bam. Thank you, ma'am. So we had that obligatory scene. This one, checks off all the obligatory cheap horror tropes there. But I kind of found that amusing. I was just trying to find anything of interest there. Juicy Fruit. Might have to get a pack of that. Been a while.
That could be interesting.
I would like to talk about, and some of this might lend us to jumping ahead, but try to keep it to one of the opening scenes. I'm very perplexed, as with everything in this film, very perplexed with the biology of Chucky.
Okay.
So maybe you can shed a bit of a light on this or not, when he's possessed or not possessed. But we have in one of the opening scenes, Andy has... I'm assuming it's the original Chucky locked in a safe, just the severed head and one-eyed Chucky, and he takes a toke of his joint, which, I mean, even this is notwithstanding biology, like these are just head and jar Futurama rules. Like, how can he inhale? Like, there are no lungs, so how is he smoking? I mean, he can no windpipe there, as far as I know, but sorry, I got to take the fun out of everything. But then in later scenes, we really the biology is kind of all over the map as far as to what's inside Chucky and what isn't.
Yes.
So any light you can shed on that or theories?
Well, when I think it comes up in a couple of the earlier ones. Like if he is in the doll and being himself as Chucky, he kind of has like a heart area that if you stab there, that's how you can kill him. But if he's been in the doll for longer than that time limit, like the arbitrary home by midnight time limit, then he is effectively human in a doll's body. Like, so he's got all the human stuff there. Okay. He's got the guts.
So he's just like a small toddler then at that point.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or a normal sized toddler. I don't know, because that is a giant goddamn doll. But
yes, and
who would want a doll with a head that's as big or bigger than their own?
Exactly.
Isn't that point? Is that it's a miniature version?
I think so.
I don't know. Never been. I'm not gender normative, but I've never been a doll person. But I certainly wouldn't be a fan of this doll. If my parents had brought this home, I would have found new parents. Love you, mom and dad, but that's a deal breaker. Yeah, so that one really confused me.
Yeah,
But yeah, so that's kind of what I was thinking. I'm like, okay, but at what point do the dolls grow guns in their groinal region? Because that's jumping ahead. Spoiler alerts. Sorry for Cult of Chucky. But did I miss something there? I almost rewound and I'm like, no, I didn't miss anything. This is going to be a waste of my time.
Well, that one was the only thing that I kind of caught onto when there's a line that Chucky says that kind of explains it. Andy is the one that sent that doll to the institution, and it had the gun inside it, so he knew that was there. Right. Yes.
I'm pretty sure I'd given up carrying at that point. Okay.
Yeah.
That is what I'll excuse myself with on that one.
Yeah, perfectly understandable. Absolutely. Yeah, and that's the thing. At that point in the film, there really shouldn't be any more exposition or whatever. It should just be wounding down the killing and coming to some sort of conclusion. And no, they decided to throw that in.
Yeah,
as well.
It's always a bad sign when there's when there's exposition going on in the third act for shit you needed to know for the previous hour. I mean, it's one thing if it's a mystery, you know what I'm saying, but for this type of narrative, definitely not a good sign.
Yeah.
Did you have a direction you wanted to head here? Because I know I got a few pages of notes that I may or may not get through, but any character you wanted to talk about or plot line or anything?
Well, the one thing I definitely wanted to cover, which I think we covered it in the Jason X episode as well, and the Halloween one, because it is a horror film. Some of the deaths in it and by extension the special effects as well. Did you feel that any of the deaths in this film at all felt plausible in the slightest? Because I think there was one maybe that even looked like it could possibly actually have worked that way. Even taking into account supernatural experience, the whole one where it's I can't remember the name of the character, but it's the one who it's the girl who was looking after the old woman, and then she's strapped to a table, and then Chucky sends a can of compressed oxygen through the glass ceiling directly above her. And then it was just glass coming down, and one single
in slow-mo.
Piece of glass.
That's very fancy slow-mo, yeah.
Decapitates her.
Yeah.
What is this glass made of?
Razor blades, I think. I don't know.
That is one. That's an even bigger suspension of disbelief for me than accepting the whole voodoo doll now becoming multiple voodoo dolls. It was.
Yeah, I believe that was Claire. I think that was Claire that got decapitated. And I was reading some of the trivia, and I believe that is a reference to how someone met their demise in an earlier film with glass falling down. Okay. Something got shot through a roof or a skylight or something like that.
That does sound kind of familiar.
But yes, I mean, I'm willing to give a certain amount of leeway to horror film deaths. I know they don't all have to add up perfectly, but these were a stretch.
Yes.
I mean, even Final Destination has more plausible, I think, realistic deaths.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just longing back to Final Destination 5. That was kind of an enjoyable watch.
It's kind of sad that a franchise such as this one, which has been known for interesting demises and stuff, has kind of been reduced to this.
It was definitely very, very, very lazy. And almost no emotion into it. I mean, like I said, the first two acts are, I think so utterly just kind of nothing and boring. I know they're just sluggish, really, and then to try to just make up with this kind of rampage, gratuitous gore fest in the last 25 minutes. I mean, it was, not working.
And I think I've also just thought of one of the problems with this film, which kind of actually makes me think it might have been overwritten or something. I don't know, but there are too many new characters that are introduced that you're supposed to care about and learn their backstory for to make them interesting enough for you to care about, and also sad that they die, because like Claire, you know next to nothing about when she dies, and so you don't really care that she's dead. The old woman thinks she's a ghost, and that's it. Like, that's all that. But they try and pass it off as, everyone loved her. It's like, when? Like, no one seemed to care about this old woman, but all right. And then they really wanted you to care about Madeline. Madeline. They really wanted to make that like a sad case. Like, oh, this person's like, and they just kind of made it seem like she was supposed to be like the second main character for a while, I felt. And no, she was completely inconsequential in the end. But no one cared.
Yeah, here's another thing where, this film couldn't kind of decide, and I know some people were yelling like, come on, you guys are bitching about Cult of Chucky. Yes, we are. Okay, that is all right. So yes, I know expectations versus like some people. I'm sure people are thinking, what do you expect? It's Cult of Chucky direct to streaming. Yeah, I get it, obviously. But with that being said, I am all well established for least favorite genre, just not because it's too scary for me or any of that kind of stuff, but so hard to do well just because it's so reliant on tropes. Yes. But that being said, I'm okay for just an escapist, dumb slasher flick if it's done reasonably well, and that I'm totally okay with a lack of character development. I'm not supposed to care about these people. It's more about the spectacle and the gags and stuff like that, and the one-liners, Yeah. And I can get behind that to a certain extent. It's when they make a half-assed attempt at character development, and maybe you're supposed to care about these people. Then it's like, well, do one or the other for me. Because this kind of rides that middle ground again. Like you said, just way too many new characters. But like I said, I haven't seen any, so I couldn't tell you if they're new or not. But new location, I'm assuming new characters.
Yes.
But it just don't care what happens to any of these people, and they weren't and then the deaths weren't. I don't know, this is a bad way to say it, but they weren't fun. Or, like Final Destination, going back to that, they're like, some of those are like, whoa, what the fuck just happened? They're really, kind of out there. And these are just blah and boring, and some of them off screen, which is always a good sign, Yeah. Shout out to Tyra and Halloween Resurrection. Another fantastic off-screen death, or off-screen death there. But it just nothing about this really worked.
It's kind of sad, really, that you end up, even like people making these films now, the tropes, the sort of thing that's kind of expected, and to turn out something that does just feel so kind of boring and bland is almost like an impressive feat in and of itself.
Yeah, I mean, have fun with the tropes. Do a couple of misdirects.
And
just jump scare. We had 2 jump scares, I think, in the first 25 minutes or something like that. Come on, And luckily, there weren't as many as I thought there was going to be. But
but
go ahead.
Then they also reverted to that towards the end, when they were having the weird dream sequence type thing, and they just flashed up a couple of pictures of Chucky's face for no reason.
Mm-hmm. No reason whatsoever.
Entirely there just to make you go, but you don't. You're just like, that was stupid. Yeah.
Very stupid. Oh my gosh. Should we talk about Foley at all?
I kind of don't want to.
I kind of don't either. Thank you for saying that, because whenever you might be listening to this episode, some very upsetting and disgusting things are happening in the news right now. And this just did not this character did not sit well with me at all. And I just was so over anything to do with this character. So that's about all I want to say on him.
Yeah,
I'd be happy to move on.
Yeah, I would just say, just in case someone comes back to this and doesn't fully get it, suffice it to say that it is someone in a position of power that is abusing that power horribly. And that's
I don't care. If we can name names. If we're saying it, we're saying it's Harvey Weinstein. Piece of shit Harvey Weinstein. So, that's fucking scum of the earth. So, yeah. So that, I mean, being right in the middle of this whole scandal and with this just disgusting creep, I was just, not having any patience. And even if that wasn't going on in the news right now, I'm really over these types of characters. It's something that we've seen so many times, and there's nothing interesting about it. There's nothing new or inventive about it. It's just gross. It's just men being disgusting to women, and I don't want any part of it. So, soapbox over. Moving on.
Yeah, it is. It is one of those things that, again, maybe if it had been better written, if they'd have gone subtle, like anything along those lines, it could have been a bit more bearable. But yeah, this was a terrible.
Yeah, it was just once again taking the laziest, easiest path in writing, and let's make the guy a creep, and that's what they did. So that's all I have to say about that.
So you were saying before you had a few bullet points you really wanted to touch on.
Well, I did. I think we might have hit a lot of them.
Oh, okay.
Let me see here. You got to stall for me, Paul.
Oh, that's fine. This might actually be a good time to bring up while you're just double checking that. There was the article that you sent me just before we started. Which a friend of the podcast sent to you, which I didn't know existed and is fantastic. It is called What the fuck even is Cult of Chucky and Other Questions. So there's a few questions that they have which, like, if you, again, we've been trying to point out, if you have a well-written film or at least something with some cool ideas done well, like even if you come away from it with a couple of questions, sure, like, that's fine. But this is this is a list of questions which just question how this film, if it was done in the real world, if any of this stuff was actually happening, so much of this would be shut down from the start. I mean,
one of these that jumps out to me is the idea of, I mean, yes, we've established Dr. Foley is not a good doctor or good person, but his therapy techniques are somewhat questionable by shoving this murdering doll into the person that has been traumatized the most by it. So that's a little, new way, or a little new wavy or innovative therapy techniques there. So I don't know what's going on with that, but
and
many things.
My favorite on the list is the why would you give another patient who suffocated her child a Chucky doll and then allow her to treat it like her real baby, giving her privacy to nurse it?
It's a Donald Trump asylum.
Even if he's not taking liberties with his other patients the same way he is with the one, this is just a horrible idea. This has no basis in psychiatry in the slightest. And I don't want to get too serious again, but we are recording this on National Mental Health Day, and I will use that as an opportunity to say, look, we need proper funding for mental health, because then this shit will be real, and you will get
people like this running psychiatric wards and taking care of your mental health, and that's not something anybody wants. That nursing thing was bizarre. I cannot believe they went there. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be so easily shocked, but that was a strange choice.
Yeah, I mean, I can only say here that it did give me probably just my favorite moment in the film when you do see her start to suffocate the doll, and that is actually the point where you realize, oh, this is why she's here. Like, obviously there was something wrong with her, but there's no mention of what actually happened to her, and it was genuinely an effective way of making you realize, oh shit, that's why she's here. But yeah, outside of being able to give you 20 seconds of like a good bit of writing, no, I have no more to say about that.
Paul, I don't think this was a very good movie.
No, I might agree with you there, yeah.
We're sensing a theme with this series we're doing. Yeah. We're not the brightest, but we're slowly putting it together.
Yes. I do have to say that there was one bit of special effects in this film that was one of the worst bits of special effects I've seen in a long time. And that would be... Yeah. And I can only assume it had to be intentional because it was technically like a dream nightmare type thing. And it's when the main character, Nika, is kind of crawling away. And then you see Chucky's shadow. And then it's like a giant Chucky doll is above her, like laughing at her and going to stab her. And it was just like... you must intentionally want this to be terrible because this is genuinely shit. Like, it's just so bad, especially given some of the other things in this one. Like, you've got reasonably good prosthetics, you've got reasonably good animatronics and all of that stuff, and then you just have that. I don't know how to describe it. It's like, it is that bad. I'm not going to be able to give you an accurate description.
Everything you're saying is very true. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I obviously you seem to feel the same way. So I'm glad I'm not just in the wrong.
I did want to. Maybe I'm being too kind. I'm just trying to find one nice thing here to say. But they did. I seem to present a gay positive character in here. Did you catch the line in there that the male orderly had a husband?
That his husband has the same thing,
just like Helen. Yeah, and he wasn't a cliched stereotype, and so that I mean, I guess I have to hand it to Cult of Chucky for that. So thank you for showing a gay positive character that then gets gang murdered by a whole bunch of Chuckies.
I did find that interesting. Like when I first saw him, I was like, "Oh, is that?" It looked like Mike Shinoda from Linkin Park. I was like, is he trying to do acting again? Like, what is this? But yes, no, that was not.
I guess I could see that a little bit. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, again, that's the problem with some of these franchises when they reach this kind of level. It is just so like, what more can you say about it that we've already gone over?
I did not know this came out this year until I looked it up today. Like, I knew we were doing the movie. I'm like, oh, I'm sure they probably did one 5, 6, 7 years ago, and that was the end of it. No, 2017. Oh, yeah. And the last one came out, I think, what was it, 2013 or 2014?
2013 was when that one came out. And not only, like, this one kind of under the wire is how this was done. Not only was it released this year, as of recording this was released 7 days ago.
Wow, we are right on this thing. Yeah. I mean, obviously, if it's a Pajiba article today, it's pretty fresh.
Yeah. So it came out on DVD, Blu-ray, and VOD on October 3rd. Mm-hmm. So it turned out that as of when we could record, this is readily available. Therefore, it's the one that we went with. And, Yeah, I kind of wish we'd done this earlier, so we could, maybe Curse of Chucky wouldn't have been as bad as this.
Oh, I'm just so happy I didn't have to rent this. I would have been really upset about losing those $6 on this one.
Yes.
But luckily, yes, thank you to Netflix, I guess, for minimizing the damage there.
Yes. I think we might want to add a rule, like, if it's been out but it's only available on DVD, we are not going to buy a DVD for this. We're going to find the rentable one on iTunes or something like that. Like, we're not going to
even then. I don't know. I'm going to have to up my standards to get my iTunes money there.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So, I did want to bring up Bad Haircut Chucky. He was my favorite Chucky, of course.
Well, yes, because he was only in the film for a short amount of time.
Yeah, no. And I think, I can't even remember, I should have read it out. I think he did have like one line that made me kind of half smile or something. Or it was the whole, who gets to kill Andy thing. And it's just, I've been trapped in this, whatever forever. And look at me, I got my hand burned. Look at my haircut. Yeah, good point. You get to kill Andy. So, slightly amusing. Handed to them error. But that's being generous.
Yes,
definitely. Good. I don't know. Yeah. Were there any comedic moments for you? I mean, intentionally, I guess. Intentionally comedic.
Intentionally funny. No, not really. I mean, there were a couple of times where it was very clearly supposed to be, oh, this is funny, like when you find out that Multiple Malcolm has multiple personalities or whatever it is he's supposed to have, because it's not even that. He seemed to just be acting as people rather than genuinely believing he is those people.
It was like the worst impressionist alive. Like, hi, I'm a CEO of a social media company, and I'm worth billions. It was kind of like the worst "Who am I?" game ever. Yeah. Oh, you're Mark Zuckerberg. Cool. Yeah. Well, that was hilarious. Got it.
Yeah, and that was also the thing. He never. I think the only time he ever officially said actually who he was when he was pretending to be Chucky, even though he was very bad at doing that, because the other time he just said his name was Michael, and then he said his name was Mark, and it was just because of what he was talking about that everyone around him was just saying, oh, you mean you're Mark Zuckerberg? Yep. It's like, no, that's not how it's supposed to work. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But like, so he had a line. I don't even remember it off the top of my head, but like he had a thing where it was supposed to be very clearly, oh look, it's funny because he's done, and it's like, okay, I'm sure you believe that, but the acting didn't help. I think I don't know much about the guy that played Multiple Malcolm, and I don't think I've seen him in anything else, but purely based on this film, I don't know if I want to.
Yeah. I'd say that's a fair assessment there.
Yeah. Again, obviously nothing against the guy personally, just based solely on this body of work, not my cup of tea.
I'd say the Douriffs are about the only one that I'm interested in seeing in anything else. Sorry, Jennifer Tilly, but you're not doing too much for me anymore in the acting realm. But because she is, I think, talented, Fiona. And Brad, I don't know. I just, I'm a Lord of the Rings guy, so I always have a soft spot in my heart for anyone involved in those. So, not a lot to. As you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I felt that obviously Chucky was just Chucky. There's no further you can go with that. The voice acting was the same as it's always been, and I enjoyed just having Chucky be Chucky. Voice wise, I did think that Nico was done quite well, and I genuinely think it was the material's fault when the cat just kind of like meh.
She can act, and even in the brief moments where she was allowed to do that in this film, did quite well, but I mean, we're really stretching here, so to try to paint some positives for you.
Yeah.
The main point is, don't see this unless you're a Chucky or Child's Play completionist, or I guess that's it. I was going to come up with something else, but that's pretty much the only reason you would have to watch this.
Yeah,
I could think, because there are so many other better things, unless you're just trying to consume as many horror flicks as you can this month. Maybe that's the other reason, but still, there are so many others. This one's bottom of the barrel here.
They have sort of talked about an idea possibly of a sequel, and I mean, I don't know if you've heard of
what this. What do you mean? Another after this one already?
After this one, and they've got the concept idea, and I don't know if they've been writing it or whatever. But if you had to pick a location for where you think like this horror franchise might end up, like having, let's say it's well and truly jumped the shark at this point, where might this horror franchise go that would just be like, really?
Can you narrow it down? Can I ask continental U.S. or are we talking globally? Or you don't want to say?
I mean, to give you a hint would to give it away entirely, so I'm going to say bigger.
Okay. You're going to say what?
I'm saying bigger.
Bigger. Yes. Oh, okay, so space.
Yep.
Okay, well,
Chucky
Jason did space. It. Why can't Chucky?
Exactly.
Anything Jason can do, Chucky can do just as bad.
Yep.
And I bet you it's going to be worse than Jason, X? Yeah.
Jason X, yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to... Are we going to get Uber Chucky?
Maybe.
That'd be all right.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. Like,
just having me. I forget what the hell even happened to Jason X, but hey, bring him back for the hell of it and have him fight Jason in space.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit anymore about that. There's obviously no rules in these universes. So I don't know. I'm pretty whipped on this one. Paul, do you have any other thoughts?
I do not have any additional thoughts. The only other thing that I will say, because we watched the Netflix version, they did have an additional minute of content. I don't know if that helped out at all.
You don't mean post-credit scene, do you?
Well, part of that is a post-credit scene, yes.
I fast-forwarded through everything and I didn't see anything.
No, that's the thing. The rated version, which is what is on Netflix, is a minute shorter than the Blu-ray and DVD version and doesn't have the post-credit scene.
Oh, I feel so gypped.
Yeah, so would you like to hear what the post-credit scene is?
Not really, but I feel like you want to, so go ahead.
I mean, it's almost not worth mentioning. Basically, Andy has arranged for his former foster sister from the second film to come to his house and continue torturing the Chucky head.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, that was worth it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So we're not going to bother rating this, obviously.
No.
With most of our Franch-Fried. As our friends at SRC say, we watch this one so you don't have to. So
yes, definitely.
Let us take the bullet on this one. Let us take the stomped Chucky doll head on this one. Yeah, it's not good. Not even fun bad. Like not even campy, corny bad. Just bad.
Yeah,
I will say real quick before we sign off here, if you're listening to this somewhat soon after this has been released, please go see Blade Runner 2049. It is not doing well, and it is a travesty because it is a beautiful, excellent film. It is so very good and worth your time. Even if you aren't a lover of the first one, don't let the runtime scare you off. Please go support awesome people making awesome art. Yeah, go see that movie. That's all I wanted to say.
All right.
And I would strongly encourage you to rent that. I know it's tough for you to get out of the house and do some things there, especially for a 3-hour runtime on a movie. But but definitely check that out when it is available in your home.
I definitely will. That has been
It is
kind of on
so
my radar.
damn good.
So.
It's as visually attuned as you are to films, you will love it. It is stunningly gorgeous.
All right. Yes.
Like I was almost weeping just at the cinematography of that movie. It's so beautifully shot. And I mean, and I think it was like 160, 170 million, which seems cheap for what they were able to do with that movie. Go see it. Like, god damn it, I'm so mad that movie's not doing well.
Well, I do feel
it doesn't
like,
take any way. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I do feel that based on what I've been hearing and what I've seen happen in the past, I think this film is going to be one of the ones that really makes its money once it leaves the cinema. Once we get
that's going to have to make
stuff,
a lot.
the DVD.
Yeah.
I know, but I do think it's going to be like kind of the slow build at home. Like people will rent it, people will then buy it because they like it and stuff like that. I think it's gonna make enough that I think the studio will still be okay doing similar sorts of things later. It just got to play the long game rather than expecting a big box office.
Yeah, I get so scared when these types of movies don't do well, because then that just sends the message to studios to make Angry Birds 4, and just do all the whole basis behind this Franch-Fried, series we're doing, is a scream for original content or creative, content.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid that's the message it sends is, well, let's go back to the sequels and reboots and remakes and reimaginings and all that bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there aren't some good ones out there, but yeah, come on, god damn it, that movie is so good. And Jared Leto, folks, Jared Leto doesn't even ruin it. Like, don't let him don't let him dissuade you either. He's only in like 2 or 3 scenes. No spoilers there. But
so very much like the American Psycho. Then, he's in it for a little bit.
Well,
and it's great.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't quite get the treatment that he got in American Psycho. I'll say that much. Which that's not obviously not giving away anything either. So but yeah, he's somewhat okay in it. But yeah, there's so much in there. God damn it! I just want to do a podcast on Blade Runner now. Okay.
Okay. I'll have to
I will stop
figure out a way of doing
that. Yeah. But god damn it, go see that, people. I want to go see it again. All right, that's all I had. Yeah, and watch the Star Wars: The Last Jedi trailer as many times as you can. Even though I'm anti-trailer, oh my god, that trailer is awesome. So, and I need a porg. That is all. Rambling. You got any closing?
No.
Closing thoughts. Just at Blokebusters.
I was going to say
on Twitter.
I put something out to say, hey, anyone got anything to say about Child's Play in general or Cult of Chucky? And I got nothing back, which probably said more than we needed to.
I think that silence is pretty loud. Yeah.
Yes. I should have really considered that before pressing play. There we go.
All right. Well, that was Curse of Chucky.
Yes, unfortunately.
Here's to some better content next time out.
Yes, we have yet to actually do the coin toss for what the next one's going to be, so we will do that outside of recording, and we will let you know once we've arranged that. So,
all right, look forward to that, folks. Yes. And please, hit us up with any thoughts on this series or just anything you want to talk about. Just hit us up anytime.
Yeah, seriously, we are happy to talk to you about pretty much anything.
Yep, so. That's what we like to do. So, all right. I've been Brian.
And I've been Paul.
Bye, folks.
Bye.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Hang on a minute, lads. I've got a great idea.
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.